all your crystal braiding anytime you're at a merchant. You can only carry 15 at a time, so if you don't use or sell them, they start to stack up in your stash and are just wasted. Food resources start to stack up as well. Most of them aren't worth much, but if you know you're not going to buy particular food items with them, you could dump these as well. Though food is pretty useful, so if you haven't played around with it, you should probably hang on to these items for now. Dye plants start to stack up as well, especially if you have the auto pickup setting turned on, which we discussed in my essential tips video. But you'll probably want to hang on to the dye plants until the end game anyway, because different combinations are used to unlock a lot of different outfit dyes. Once you have unlocked the dye though, it will just cost 25 shards to use it again, so the plants do become useless at some point. Switching over to the tools tab, you could certainly sell off any unwanted traps if you know you're never going to use them, but I would hang on to at least one of each type. As long as you have at least one in your inventory, then if you edit your toolkit to remove it, even when you loot another, it won't pop up in the toolkit again. You could also consider selling off unwanted coils and weaves. I definitely wouldn't do this until the late game though. It takes a while to get good coils, and you'll definitely want to be using green and blue versions until you can load up on multiple copies of purples or golds. You might also be tempted to sell old, lower rarity outfits and weapons, but I would strongly recommend against this. So many people sell a piece of gear and then regret it later because they can't get the item back. For example, if they sold something that was obtained from a quest. But I wouldn't even sell gear you can buy from merchants. Even if you've purchased a higher rarity version of something, you might realize the old version has ammo types or a set of perks you like better. Or maybe you just invested in upgrading it and it actually has better stats than the unupgraded new weapon you just got. Now, there is a buyback section in the merchant inventory, but it will only ever show the last 30 items sold, so it's very easy for a piece of gear to get lost permanently. But let's jump back to that pouch upgrade category, where you'll see that all the animal parts are actually worth quite a bit. Every purple animal part is worth 125 shards, and blue ones are worth 50. So if you've upgraded your pouches, or even just the ones you care about for now, selling off some of these animal parts can net you a nice chunk of shards. And our next method actually takes this one step further, because we can, of course, purposely go hunt these animals to get more parts to sell. Hunting animals for parts is arguably the best way to farm shards in the game, because it's super low risk, doesn't require expensive ammo, and goes pretty fast. You just need to find a good spot. The best animals to hunt are crabs, lobsters, and pelicans. They're all one-shot, even to a weak bow. They all show up in beach biomes, which is ideal because they're nice and flat, and there's hardly anywhere for them to hide or get lost in vegetation. The crabs and lobsters are slow, so it's easy to hit them, and even though the pelicans will fly away, they're the biggest birds in the game, so they're much easier to hit. So once you're far enough west, find yourself a beach area with a bunch of these guys, and just keep running up and down the beach using your focus to find and shoot them. They'll constantly respawn, so you can basically farm them forever. Now, the crabs and lobsters will burrow in the sand if you startle them, and they despawn shortly afterwards. So you do want to keep your distance and take a moment to line up your shot. You can mark them with the focus and use concentration to make this easier. To conserve resources and maximize your profits, I would also recommend using a lower rarity hunter bow with regular hunter arrows instead of advanced ones. The advanced arrows cost more shards to craft. Now, if you're not far enough west to have access to a beach yet, then you can simply hunt other small animals almost as easily. One spot I like is this shelter directly north of Scalding Spear. The fields just north of the shelter are filled with prairie dogs, rabbits, foxes, and raccoons. There also aren't too many machines around here to accidentally run into. But if you'd rather hunt machines than animals, you can farm shards that way too. I'll only show you footage of Tremor Tusks, but I will mention a few others. So if you don't want to know about them, go ahead to the next section and come back to this later. Some of the most valuable individual machine components are things like Fireclaw sack webbing, Thunderjaw tails, and Tide Ripper tail fins. Shell Snapper shell bolts are also worth 68 each, and you can potentially get 6 of them per hunt for a total of 408 shards. The biggest, baddest Apex machines also drop their hearts, which are worth north of 200 or even 300 shards apiece. But the problem is, it's obviously much tougher and takes a lot of time to take care of these machines. So if I'm going to hunt machines for shards, I prefer to go for Tremor Tusks, specifically the Apex variants. The tusks are worth 89 shards each.
So you want to get rich and level up fast? Well, ladies and gentlemen, you've come to the right place. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to get a ton of shards and XP to level up fast and get any items you want in the game. Now, this will be on the tad cheesy side, but